Hello everyone, welcome to another wonderful episode of Zappychats, an exclusive HR podcast with business leaders and HR leaders in the area of talent acquisition and talent management in order to ensure that we understand the best practices and share it with the world. So today I have a wonderful guest with me to share his learning in the area of talent acquisition. And this person is very quite similar to my name as well. His name is Ranjith TP. He is currently the head of talent acquisition in Volvo Group. He has got 20 years of exposure in overall human resource domain, a postgraduate in human resource management, and a PG certification from Xavier Learning Institute, Jamshedpur. Ranjith started his HR career from a startup organization, the career spanning of 20 years. He has worked with many major companies like Wipro, Capgemini, Epsilon, and currently he is with Volvo. He has handled large-scale recruitment as well as leadership hiring, and he is currently focusing on the R&D hiring as well as IT hiring in the Volvo Group. What he does apart from his regular career, he's a nature enthusiast. He helps conserve the nature. He takes care of the nature. He ensures that this message is passed to many people. He's an expert in water harvesting, and he is also a mentor for startups and young leaders across the country and the world. And he is also in the academic board of a couple of B schools as well. So welcome to you, sir. Welcome to Zappychats.
Thank you so much, Ranjith. Very happy to be here with you today.
Pleasure is awesome. Since this is a wonderful meeting, Ranjith connecting with Ranjith on Zappychats. So and especially this talk series is majorly to understand business leaders' perspective on talent acquisition, its trends, what are the new things happening in the industry, and how to attract the right talent. So let me start my first question. We hear about a lot about the Great Resignation, bulk hiring by the companies, huge number of talent acquisition happening in many countries, many companies. So according to you, what is trending in the area of talent acquisition, and specifically speaking about the automotive and the transport industry? Could you help us with what is trending in the hiring part?
Sure, Ranjith. That's a great question to start with about great resignations and the changes in the industry. There are a lot of things happening in the last 2 years. I think as many people have said, it is pre-COVID era and post-COVID era. So there's big transformation which has happened in the thought process of people in the when they look for a job, when the career they build. So there are a lot of changes, I think, which has happened in the mindset of people, because not only about the Great Resignation, which is as a movement which started, but at the same time, I think the current situation in India, at least, is based on the market scenario, because many of the companies did not hire or were very cautious about hiring in the last 2 years during the COVID times. And a lot of companies had retrenched people. So with a lot of business coming to India, many of the competitors, many of our in automotive industry as well as in any other industry, a lot of companies are hiring with to backfill those lost time and bring more and more talented people looking forward for great business opportunities. That is what is happening in the industry right now. And it is same with automotive industry also, though it is resignations and movement of people may not be as high as in an IT industry or somewhere, many of the other industries. Automotive industry also is facing this challenge. And about the trends in the industry as in the talent acquisition space, I feel a lot of these companies have big business plans for India now. Many, including my organization, Volvo Group, many other companies have declared that they are going to invest thousands of crores of rupees in India for building their capabilities, developing their centers. So this is going to have a major impact on the talent availability, because this limited pool of people, again, moving between around 10 or 12 companies, which are big, large organizations, keep moving around among these companies. So now it is going to be bigger movements, because this declaration of big investment in this space is going to really affect this movement. That is what the trend is now. And we are finding it difficult to get the real good R&D engineers. Many of the other peripheral skills are not that challenging, but at the same time, the good R&D engineers, good design engineers, people with a lot of domain knowledge are going to be in demand in this industry, and the people are going to hire in mass numbers, because it's not the small amount these companies are going to invest in this space. And the change now after this COVID situation is that companies have become very conscious, or they have become more confident that India is the talent pool available, where they can get high quality talent at a much faster pace. And that is what going to change the space in India now, this talent acquisition space in India now, because expectation from our headquarters has changed. Earlier, they used to be very conservative about the kind of skills they would like to hire in India. They always used to be very conservative about that. But now they are ready to move a lot of high quality work to India. And some of the skills are going to be as good as any other European or US geography. It is as good as the quality of people available in India is as good as any of these regions. For example, data analytics, quality of talent is available for all these countries. Similarly, data analytics, or some of the skills in automotive domain like electromobility or hydrogen fuel cells. All these are new skills, which we also have similar experience and expertise in India. So that way, I feel that most of these headquarters would now start thinking that India can provide the right kind of quality and right kind of skills. So this is the big change in the business mindset now. So in the talent acquisition space, what we see is that now the expectation of people have changed. The candidates feel that they have worked for last 2 years, sitting at home, not coming to office. So why don't we continue that way? So some of those candidates feel that they can continue and work from home. And that is one of the expectation. And we have lost a good number of candidates who have not joined our organization after releasing the offer. And another big challenge is about relocation, which has been a challenge in the past, but it has become even more worse. The percentage of people declining because of relocation and travel time has gone up. And this is one area of big mindset change I see. But otherwise, other challenges like salary related, always there is an organization which should pay better than you. That is the situation anytime. So that continues to be the same. And some of the recent surveys which we have conducted in our organization, we found that candidate experience plays a major role in the decision making of candidates. Many of the candidates said that I waited for some time. It did not come back in time. It was speed of processing the application. That made a big impact on the decision making. So that is another thing. And then some of the people. So in short, what I can say is that apart from the regular salary concerns and role concerns, there are new challenges which has come up now in the mindset of people. One is about the candidate experience during the hiring process, which plays a major role. And then about the relocation and work from home. These are going to be a bigger decision-making points for many of the candidates. And when it comes to the organization on how we are now looking at talent acquisition to improve on these areas, some of the things which you have mentioned to me earlier when we spoke about the artificial intelligence and data-driven recruitment. These are going to be the big decision changes which are going to come up in the future. Already it has caught up, but it is going to be a big game changer for any organization.
It was an amazing start for this entire discussion. A lot of points which have come up, which have been given by you. My next question is connected with this statement. So there are a lot of challenges which organizations face today. I connect with recruiters on a daily basis, and I hear from a lot of recruiters saying that they're facing a lot of no-shows, offer regrets, and candidate ghosting, etc. So candidates not connecting with them after the offer has been made, or they just don't show up on the day of joining. So what are the possibilities to improve such a situation? Can tools like, say, gamification in recruitment, or say the selection and process onboarding, improving the system, can these help?
Yeah, I am a big believer of technology in recruitment, and I feel that always gamification can have an impact, good impact on the people, because this gives an experiential learning for anybody. So gamification can have a huge impact on the decision making of the people and accepting the offer letter, because that gives them that feeling that the company has invested on the technology, and also it gives them a starting point to feel that how is the work going to be in the real scenario. So gamification gives a good perspective to the new joining, and but then it has some buts actually, because depending on what and why you want to have a gamification in talent acquisition, it's not a one-stop solution for all the problems, because it can engage prospective employees and assist completing the tasks and improve individual learning. Then also the organizations need to decide. It has a lot of advantages, like making that experience fun, joining or going through the interview process or assessment process, even the engagement. All this can become real fun for the person who's joining you, and it is very interactive and creates kind of a feeling of that it is so easy to learn that whole process. All that is a very good advantage, and also then as I said, it gives a real experience of what is going to happen in the work, and it gives you a feedback. Apart from candidate feeling it's a good experience, you also get a feedback quickly, and that whole experience will be enhanced. But then you need to think what kind of situations and how you want to utilize gamification in recruitment. The why part and what part has to be very clear to you. Otherwise, gamification can become a challenge in the organization, because unless it is correctly understood, the entire process of gamification has to be clearly thought through, and whether it is the right solution for the organization has to be thought through. And if yes, if the organization decides that gamification has to be implemented, that has to be done in a very systematic way. Otherwise, this can be another technology brought in to make the whole experience really mediocre. So I have seen many people implementing gamification which really doesn't make any sense. They try to bring it is like in the name of creating a good experience for the candidates, for the stakeholders, it becomes a little more another checkbox. So it doesn't really make sense. So I believe gamification in most of the situation can be a good solution, provided the organization and the leadership has thought through about these steps, phases of implementing and conceptualizing it correctly, and implemented. It can give very good information. For example, if the candidate go through a assessment, which is a gamified assessment, it can give a realistic insight into the talent. It will give you exactly how the person would behave in a situation, which you may not get in a normal assessment or an assessment center, which you might lack this kind of information. And AI tools can be connected to the gamification, which will give you much more input and data for this about this. And also this will give the candidate a very good platform to showcase the complete talent of the individual, if it is for the assessment, for example. And it can avoid a lot of biases which is involved. All that can be good advantage, and gamification can be a very good candidate engagement tool, because nothing else will give such a wonderful experience when it comes to engagement. And candidate also feels happy about this, and the people who are doing that, the organization also would be very happy to conduct such kind of things. And then in terms of onboarding, it can be a very good tool, because it gives you a platform which can make the candidate to understand, learn so quickly the entire process, procedures, policies, organization structure, everything can be gamified so wonderfully. As I said, but then it has to be done with a caution. It has to be done with a real good thinking behind that. So that is my view about this.
You have opened up a door to the entire world of automation, say artificial reality, or artificial intelligence getting into this thing. So my next question connects from there. So many organizations have started identifying and using tools like applicant tracking systems, automation, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. They have even gone ahead and used augmented reality in their assessments. An automobile conducting, say, interviews and assessments and things like that. We have been hearing a lot of these new techniques. Taking this entire talent acquisition to the next level of, say, so the gamification thing. You in your earlier statement also mentioned that, okay, it should not be done for the sake of, doing a tech savvy thing. There has to be a need felt about this entire gamification or the artificial intelligence coming into the talent acquisition. The next question from my end is, what are the key areas or key pointers which an organization should keep in mind while deciding upon this technology adoption in talent acquisition? Say we have technology in the sense of applicant tracking system, to usage of AI and AR, and to the next level of, say, augmented reality or machine learning to that level. So what are the parameters an organization should look at while deciding on these use of these tools?
So then I would like to answer that where, why, and how of what I believe gamification or artificial intelligence or augmented reality or virtual reality or whatever technology we use in recruitment. So it has to be, as I mentioned earlier, it has to be, it is a very context driven thing, whether your automation will really work in your organization or not. And also it is depending on the users who are organizations' conviction that we are going ahead, because these are all major changes we are bringing into the organization, to the way of working. There should be really a management support for that, and the people who are using that technology should be convinced about that, and it's a big change management. And then, in my view, you need to know about your organization and its culture very well before thinking about an artificial intelligence tool. If you are going to use an artificial intelligence tool or any new technology to the organization, which has a culture of old way of thinking and conservative thinking, it may not work, because the resistance would be much higher. So change management would be very, very big part of whether the new technology will be successful or not. So you need to know your organization very well and early start that change management process in a very well thought through manner. And then next part is about, do you really want to have this gamification or an artificial intelligence into your organization, because sometimes it could be a decision which can be very costly. It can be there is a pretty much good chance of this implementation may not work in a very good manner, which gives you an ROI. So this also could be, for example, an organization recruiting 100 people in a year. It doesn't make sense to implement an artificial intelligence for this, because it is not going to work out in a good way in terms of ROI. And then the goals should be pretty much clearly defined. What are you going to achieve from this? Is it a candidate experience? Is it a hiring manager experience? Or is it something else you want to achieve? For example, you might implement a gamification or artificial intelligence tool in the joining process, onboarding process of the candidates. So then the objective of artificial intelligence and the gamification is completely different from an organization which want to implement the same in a assessment area. So you need to define that very clearly. You need to say that this is what I'm trying to achieve. This is the end goal of my gamification. This is what and it is in line with the strategies of the organization, what we are trying to achieve. And then next stage could be to structurally look at what exactly are going to be the steps of gamification and implementation of AI. What are you going to do at each stage? And it cannot be like everything can be gamified or completely changing into artificial intelligence or a new technology suddenly. It has to be in a planned manner. It has to be in a structured manner, and it has to be step-by-step approach. And then you need to think about whether to really bring in the artificial intelligence or not, or gamification, or both principle remains same for both of them. So that is the decision making you have to do first. And then you mentioned about artificial intelligence being used in the hiring process. Where are you going to use artificial intelligence? That is another question. So you know what is the purpose of artificial intelligence in your organization, and you have understood your organization. Second step would be to understand where can you use it. In my view, there could be major three stages or three areas where an artificial intelligence can be applied, especially in Indian scenario. One is about sourcing and screening of the applications, which normally we know that every application would get at least 2,000, every requirement would get 2,300, 3,000 applications. In Volvo, that is what big challenge we face. For every level of recruitment, we get applications for, even if it is a managing director's position, you will get the application from a intern. So people don't really worry about what the title or the role responsibilities are. They consider that applying to Volvo, recruiters will take care of the rest. Whenever I have a suitable requirement coming up, they would take care of the application. It may not be true always. So then that could be one area where artificial intelligence can play a big role. It can shortlist, screen, and also rank according to the selections happening, and it can even customize according to the manager's way of hiring. So it has a lot of applications there. And then second area which I feel can be used is for behavioral assessment, because there are so many tools nowadays in the market, which like biometrics or many other tools which can help in the assessment. And there are tools during the interview process, which can do its own interviews actually, because some of the tools like HRtech or HireView, etc., can give you a lot of understanding of the individual, even if the interviewer is not there. It's all recorded interviews, which artificial intelligence tool can pick up a lot of cues from the answers and the behavior of the individual, and then give you a lot of things. And then third area could be candidate engagement till the person joins. So these are the areas where I feel probably artificial intelligence and tools can help.
Amazing, sir. You have stolen a lot of questions from my end in the next part, because I was going to ask you about what could these recruitment tools like the chatbots or the artificial intelligence or even the machine learning could help the recruiters to ease out their job. And you've already given the answers in the 3 steps, like passing of the resume, ranking it according to the applicability of or capability based on their resumes, assessment, or even interviewing by the chatbots themselves, and ultimately on the candidate onboarding, the documentation and data collection included in the onboarding part. So brilliant. Sir, here you have spoken about the organization's benefits of using these AI or the automation or even the chatbots and things like that. What could be the benefit for the candidate while using such a tool by organizations? How could these impact the candidate experience and ensure that the employer branding is taken care of appropriately?
That is a very good area which I think an organization can implement these tools, because primary beneficiary of this, or the person who is going to benefit maximum through these tools, is, of course, organization has a lot of benefits, but that is candidate. Candidates would get, these tools can never be biased unless we program it accordingly, right? So candidates can be very confident that there is no bias by these tools. They don't look at whether you are a male or a female, or you are a person with a 60-year-old or 16-year-old. So that bias can be completely avoided, provided we take care of that in a nice way, because artificial intelligence also has another habit of picking up human habits. For example, a hiring manager continues to recruit for a particular kind of skills from a particular region. AI also will pick up that habit. That also will understand that, for example, Ranjith recruits only from X location. Then artificial intelligence will start behaving that way. So its objective also is, but then we need to be careful about that, and we need to program it accordingly. So that one part is that. Secondly, that you get continuous feedback as a candidate. It can be programmed that artificial intelligence tool is person independent, and it can interact with you at any point of time. You don't have to wait for somebody to come online 9 to 5. So it is full time now, 24/7. You can apply, you can get feedback, you can get interviewed. So there is no waiting period. I think the entire process of hiring can be completed in 24 hours if everything is given to the artificial intelligence. So that is the best part of that. And then thirdly, artificial intelligence tools can give you that kind of a nice experience of hiring, because many times it happens that there is delay, there is no feedback, so many things which we feel that candidates would not be, as if we apply for a job. We also, at some point of time, we also have applied for some jobs in our career. We also know how it is when it is person dependent. So delays from the people, or flawed processes, or the processes not followed properly, and then biases, or untrained recruiter and the interviewers. So many things can be avoided by a tool, and gamification and artificial intelligence can change all that. So I think candidates will benefit hugely by this.
Amazing, sir. Today I've hit a jackpot with you. You providing a lot of inputs on the benefits of the candidates as well. So I pick up 3 points there. Basically, candidate experience is becoming better. He gets a standard experience throughout, whether it is Ranjith hiring or someone else hiring, there's no differences. The recruiter's biases, it can be avoided. And third one, this is 24/7. You don't have to place the recruiter right there to get the answers or to collect the information from the candidate. So those were really good pointers. So now I connect you with the social recruiting. So today, a lot of recruiters are working on social media hiring, recruiting from the social media sites and things like that. So what do you think? What are the opportunities here, and what are the risks involved in social media hiring?
I think that is going to be the future of hiring, because now we are reaching a stage where there is no mediator required for most of the things, right? We are reaching a stage where there are a lot of aggregators coming in, and then mediators are getting removed. And it is becoming candidates and employer. That is where we are moving towards. There is a huge opportunity, and not sure at any point of time we would become 100% using social media for recruitment. But then most of the organizations have reached a fairly good amount of recruitment through social media, which is probably 10 to 15% in most of the organizations. And recruiters are becoming more and more active on social media, and they check background, even if they don't get the candidate directly from social media, even if it is otherwise, social media is used for checking the individual's background, behavior, and to ensure that we are hiring the right people. It is a reality now. So this is a huge opportunity. So as I said, it is an employee and employer direct relationship on the social media, where you need a job. You don't need to approach a job portal or a vendor, placement consultant. You are picked up from what you are doing in social media, because it's an open world now. So if person X is a good coding person, he will be, or he would be, or she would be available to any employer to see in social media. There are different forums, different platforms, which gives you access to the employer directly. When I started my career, I remember we going to even the marriage portals to pick up prospective employees. So where we picked up people who are software engineers, 28-year-old, looking for a bride, being hired. So, but then now this is a different world now. You know which organization you're working and what technologies are you working on, and it is all out in the open for everyone. And how do we pick up, depending on the skills of the recruiter? But going forward, and as and when we have more powerful tools to pick up the right people, like we have mentioned earlier, like artificial intelligence tool, it will be very easy for them to skim through all the resumes or all the information in the internet available within seconds. So I strongly believe that that is going to be the future, and it is more fast. It is faster, it is cost effective, and it is without a mediator. So that way, that is the opportunity, and it gives you a lot of information about the candidate. Unfortunately, here, let me tell the secret of the recruiters, that anybody who is getting shortlisted, right now we don't go through social media and check all the antecedents before hiring, but at least at the time of hiring, normally we go through all the details of the people, most of the recruiters. So that is the opportunity. That is what the individuals are going to get hired through social media without applying in any other medium or any other channel. In future, they are going to get hired. And for the organizations, it is the free flow of information. It is the availability of a big talent pool open in the market, not depending on anybody else. So it is only a matter of time that we have those such powerful tools and smart recruiters getting into the social media and hiring people. That is going to be the, but then there are a lot of risks, because social media is giving you a lot of information about the individual. The previous days boost party and a few days back went for a vacation, what you did there, all that will be available there. So this is going to be a big risk, because our decisions are made on different biases nowadays, and it is going to be even more with all this information available, which is not directly related to the job. So then possibility of bias in hiring process can be higher, because in the social media you have every information available. What is your sexual orientation, your religion, your political affiliation, everything. So it can cause a big challenge in the decision making, and decision can be biased. And then second big risk I see is that access to personal information can be misused, and employee doesn't have a choice here. If an organization, tomorrow I'm hiring someone and I say that I would like to see your social media handle, and then give me access to that, probably the person would agree to that because he needs or she needs a job. So then employer has a upper hand here, and recruiter might have access to a lot of information. So that information, how it can be used, we don't know now, but that's a big risk. So I see these two risks. One is being biased and misuse of the information.
Wonderful thoughts, sir, on social media hiring, and I've been I've become a fan of yours in these thought processes. So thank you for sharing those things. My next question, since you are an enthusiast in HR analytics and data analytics, my next question is on that. So today, the use of analytics or the use of data-driven recruitment is quite limited. We don't use too much of data. Say, unlike the business big data, we have very limited data in talent acquisition or even in HR to be whole. So how can data-driven recruitment or data analytics change the picture of hiring, and how can it add value to the organizations to hire strategically?
In fact, I think recruitment is one of the areas where probably the data-driven decisions are started taking. Many of the recruitment managers and recruitment heads and recruiters themselves started using data very effectively, much early stages. I remember around 8 years back, we doing a analysis to predict who would join after releasing the offer. So a lot of information was collected about what are the parameters which will make the decision of the individual, whether he would make a decision to join our organization or decline. And we started creating a backup for such. And accuracy level was almost 80%. So it is not bad, because in a very, very amateur recruiters creating a model and predicting that the individual would join or not based on very basic statistical knowledge we have. It was good. And the point which I'm trying to say is that recruitment is one of the areas where data-driven decisions are taken long back, and it was utilized in many progressive organizations. How can we use data? In fact, in my view, there is no point of time. Since recruitment has started, we did not measure the cycle time of hiring, right? Without knowing how much time you take on an average to close the position, it is impossible to do the recruitment, and no business is going to accept that you cannot tell how much time would you take to recruit. So at least on an average, we have to tell that. That is one basic simple data we used to give. And then you have cycle time plus cost of hiring, and you have candidate experience measurement and offer decline ratio. All these things are basic statistical or basic information any recruiter should know at his fingertip or her fingertip. So this is something which is always there. It has been there for quite some time. How can we utilize this data? It can unearth a lot of hiring issues. It can tell that, yes, a simple graph on an Excel sheet can predict or tell you that there is something going wrong. If in a particular quarter your numbers do not match with the previous quarter and you see an unusual increase in the height of the graph, you know that something is going wrong there. So you should be able to predict what is, probably it is because of multiple reasons. One could be the change in the market, or it could be the change in the bandwidth of the recruiter or the motivation of the individual. So it gives a lot of information about that. So what can data-driven recruitment do? It can unearth a lot of hiring issues. It can give you, it is actually the alarm bell. Without this data, you can never know what is happening in your department as a recruiter and as a recruitment head or a manager. And then this helps you to benchmark with your industry. For example, company X is taking 60 days to hire, and company Y is taking 90 days to hire. The company 90 days company probably has to learn something from company X, which is hiring in 60 days. So it can help you to benchmark, improve your processes. And it can help you to improve your processes and efficiency. So that is what data can do. Data can help you to understand your internal processes. It can benchmark you with external systems, and it can give you where you need to improve. So that is what, and then you can make a lot of hiring decisions. For example, you have different sources of hiring. You hire through vendors, you hire through job portals, you hire through social media, you hire through employer referral. Is your employer referral efficient? If your employer referral, people who are hired through employer referral, if they are rejecting more, and if they are not joining you, then there is something which you need to think about your strategy. So this data-driven recruitment helps you to make your strategy. What sources are efficient and what sources are more effective for you. And then again, it will help you to budget. Your entire year's budget can be based on some information provided by this data. And then you measure a lot of other things like cost per hire, candidate experience. So data-driven recruitment, I think data is the backbone of any progressive recruitment organization. Without that, you are in the dark.
What an amazing list of benefits of data-driven recruitment, and I mean, you have taken it to the next level of Ellipse. So I mean, even you mentioned that you have done this predictive analysis-based candidate profiling. I mean, years back, and that's going to be the future, where employers identify what kind of profiles fit in for me, what kind of profiles, candidate profiles become more productive very easily, or what kind of profiles, I mean, join at least. So possibly these analytics can definitely help recruiters and hiring managers to ensure that their hirings are becoming more efficient. Thank you, sir. Thank you for adding those valuable points. My last question, I mean, my favorite question. Whenever I get a senior like you, I always ask this question: what are your recommendations to young professionals who aspire to become a talent acquisition expert?
That's a question which I ask myself as well. What do you recommend for myself for the future? So it is a continuous learning, Ranjith. It is about learning and exploring new things, understanding how the things are changing, and the things growing along with that. That is what the whole journey of career is about. And recruitment also is same. You need to continuously learn. And my recommendation, if I can say it is a recommendation, because everyone learns from their experiences. Each person has their own path, and they learn on their own path, their own way. But still, if you have to tell something as a recommendation from my experiences, I would say that ownership would be something which is very important as a recruiter. You are not in a position of, or a job which is just a job. It is not something which is not impacting only you. It is your, as a recruiter, he or she is building the career for somebody else. And maybe even the person hiring or the person joining you may not understand that, but you are actually in a very responsible position where you build the career of a person. And you add so much of dreams, so much of things. People realize this only in the bad situations, but otherwise, generally it is unnoticed, but you are in a very responsible position where you build somebody's career and supporting someone's dreams, fulfillment of dreams. So ownership of whatever we do is the paramount important thing, not only because you are owning the responsibility of fulfilling the business needs, but because there are certain personal aspects also which I have mentioned earlier. So that is one important part, that own what you do, be responsible for what you do. And then second part is empathy. You need to understand that your candidates who are your customers, primary customers, I would say, as a recruiter. Though business is very important, but for me, I believe that candidates are your primary customers. Your job seekers are your primary customers. So second part of this is, one is that ownership, second is empathy. And then after these 2 points, I would say that a recruiter should be continuously learning. Recruiter is in the forefront. Every time recruiter job is at stake if he doesn't understand the new technology. So a continuous learning of keeping themselves abreast on technologies which are coming up in the market, plus making ourselves more relevant by learning new technologies and skills. So that is another thing which I would say. And change is always a part of life in the recruiter's life, because every moment is very vague. It is never very predictable. You don't know whether the hiring manager would recruit this candidate whom you have recommended. You wouldn't know the candidate would join that job. And these so many uncertain things happens in the life of a recruiter on a day-to-day basis. So should be very, very open for changes. And something which I have learned a little bit late in my career is that start loving technology. Adopt technologies which can make life much, much easier for a recruiter. Don't try to do everything yourself, but depend on the technology. So adopting technologies would be the other one. And then last, but at the same time very important, is that understand your business and start talking in the language of your business, which they understand. So my recommendation for the recruiters would be this, that own what you do, be empathetic, and continuously learn, be open for changes, adopt technology, and then speak the language of business.
Brilliant, sir. You have given me a mini MBA capsule model for recruiters. Thank you so much. And these 6 mantras, I would say, these are really beneficial for the young recruiters or people who are aspirant of becoming a talent acquisition leader. Have ownership in what you do. Be empathetic with your candidates, your primary customers. Continuously learn, whether it is technology or whether it is your new process. Be agile. Be open for learning and changes, and start loving technology and speaking the language of business. Brilliant, sir. I mean, I couldn't have asked more from a short discussion like this. This is why I love to speak with leaders and experts across the country, because that's where I draw my energy from. And you have given me a lot of energy today, a lot of ideas to ponder over, whether it is from the organization part or from the candidate part, whether it is a data-driven recruitment processes, or whether it is about technology supporting the recruiters in terms of the experience, building the candidate experience, and working to ensure that you have the right person at the right time at the right place. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ranjith. Good day to you.
Audience, this was Ranjith TP, Head of Recruitment at Volvo Group, sharing his words of wisdom with you. Thank you so much. See you in another episode of Zappychats. Bye-bye.